dee da dee da dum dum dum. Da da dee da ba dee memories all alone in the moonlight. Just gonna give it a moment. I actually wanted to record this and just fly it into the ether, partly because I might get interrupted. I'm kind of working right now. So hello, and hey Dolly. Great Awakening getting stronger. Yeah. I think you need a wrench. Yeah, the Great Awakening getting stronger. I think so. We are having a new moon right now, and I don't know. Maybe it's in me. Maybe the feeling's inside me, and not the whole world. But I was talking to Andrea this morning about that, actually, because I was up I barely slept last night, actually. I think I've had 2 hours sleep. I had to get up 5:30, but I was somehow concerned that I wasn't going to wake up. And so I was it was a disjointed sleep, very disjointed. But I was talking to Andrea about how it goes, how it happens. I started this little stream with, did I say that I might get interrupted because I'm working? So if I get interrupted, I'm going to leave the van, but only for 30 seconds, just to kind of unload something, and then I'll get back in the van, okay? I'm reading this at the moment. This book was given to me by Shamsi at Speaker's Corner on Sunday. I don't know if you saw that session. I know there was a lot going on at Speaker's Corner, so no foul if you haven't had chance to see that. And I'm putting a few hours of content up every week, so it's impossible for people to keep up with all of that. But Shamsi is a Salafi Muslim scholar, teacher, Imam perhaps is the proper title, and he's a guy that I ran into like a year ago in Speaker's Corner, and we never really had a long conversation, but he asked me if I believed in God back then, and of course I had found that there is a God. On Sunday I told him that I think that we are God, and he's a very popular guy there, and of course he had a lot of his acolytes around him. So they didn't like the sound of that at all. I don't think they liked the sound of that at all, and to be honest, even to my former Christian ears, that's a hard pill to swallow. No one really, I think, once you've been indoctrinated into the idea that there is this vast gulf divide between the minions down below and God up above, then it's hard to hear that actually God may simply be here. But I'm enjoying reading this, actually, because it is an interesting insight into how good people are thinking about things, and you see the division within Islam, and how they want to distance themselves from the violent aspects of it, or from these particular guys who call themselves Rafida. Now, Rafida means rejecter, which refers to the Shiites who display enmity towards the Prophet's companions and consider Sunni Muslims to be apostates from their, apostates, yeah, which is obviously funny. But from their core doctrines is the belief that an awaited Mahdi, a leader, is to appear, who will lead them against Sunni Muslims, annihilate the Sunnis, and take over their lands, including the cities of Makkah and Al-Madinah. It's not uncommon for the Shiite proxy communities in Sunni lands to create strife and commotion as a means of paving the way for revolutions which they believe will hasten the appearance of the alleged Mahdi. I know that term, I don't know why I'm struggling to pronounce it now. The Mahdi, right? Now, doesn't that sound like the coming of the Christ, the second coming, or the first coming if you're a Jew? And there are those that say that what they're doing in Israel with the building of the third temple and the American involvement is to bring about a coming of the Christ. So Andrea and I were talking about the dark and the light, and how it might be that in order for us to have extreme light, my friends, we also need to we will birth that out of extreme darkness. I just think that's a fascinating consideration. That almost like, if we are God, there is no death. That when you return and can come back in any form, I suppose. You know, that actually you might, if you were God, have authored this, that there would be extreme darkness to bring about extreme light. And by sheer coincidence, I'm not going to pay any attention to the chat right now. I'm not sure there's many people here, and it's a work day and so on, in England anyway. Well, it's a work time. But I want to get these thoughts out, and hopefully this resonates. Or not, but you know, this is what I'm thinking. And I have a little time to talk. So hopefully you got a little time to listen, because I think this is important. I think this is valuable. So I had the opportunity to talk to a guy yesterday. I'm doing some painting for. He is in his 50s. Fairly relatively successful guy in some respects, the son of a Christian preacher. I'm not sure which branch of the religion he exactly is, but he is of the kind that I was, in that we are taught that the Jews are the chosen people. And I was talking about how Jews are, perhaps the Jews that we reference as Jewish, the Jewish people today, are perhaps not the same people that are being referenced as Israel, or as the Jews of the biblical or the ancient Hebrew texts. Certainly we know that the Hebrew Israelites we would say no. And you know, those that talk about Khazarians versus Sephardi Jews, they would say that the current people who call themselves Jewish are not the chosen people. But what was fascinating about this conversation with this guy John yesterday was that, and he's not really into conspiracies, so he's very kind of blue pill kind of guy, you know. I mean, I'm obviously trying to introduce him to some information, but some of it's water off a duck's back, you know, and it doesn't penetrate. So what he thinks is pretty much, you know, mainstream views on the Islamic, the situation with Islamic people, or the you know, the Brexit kind of rhetoric and so on, very much caught up with the system in that way. But what he said to me yesterday struck a chord, that the reason that the character Jesus, it's not debate here whether or not he was a real character or a character of an allegory, but the character of Jesus is meant to come from humble and difficult backgrounds. And for me, when I talk about us all being Jesus, that's how I honestly think. I think that we all have that Christ level consciousness, if you like, or we all have that. We are all of God. This is creation. There's no separation between me and this lady walking past, or the plants, or the trees, or all of this. Everything in this ether, is everything is God, but we are the kind of the voice and the actors of that in this context and in this way of thinking. So you get to this idea that I'd been thinking that all of us are on a mission to upgrade. Oh, here comes that lady again. I can allow you a quick peek at the pretty dress to be enjoyed. We are. Where was I going? We are meant to be. This is how I think. We are meant to be like raising ourselves up to be like Christ, like Muhammad, like a Buddha. Speakers, leaders, teachers who represent all the sort of goodness and godness of creation. But in order to kind of be those Christ characters, Muhammad characters, you have to come through the hardship. Oh, I've got a little delivery coming my way. Hold on a second. I'll be back. Cheers. Sorry about that. I'm back. So what if, I'm thinking, what if we're meant to be the ones raising our vibration? But when this guy John spoke to me about, you've got to come through, the Christ has to come from a hard, let's just call it a hard way through, not just have it handed to him on the platter, her on the platter. And then I realize, as I kind of talk and think and more, I think sheepers, maybe the idea that everybody is it's necessary that everybody achieves that level of journey is not the case. And maybe what the Jehovah's talk about, the 144,000, the Christians talk about that too, don't they? I don't know if others talk about that, but that there's perhaps not necessary for everybody to be on that page, but that a certain number have to come through. Now, in order to get that number through, you need to push humanity to the wall. And that's what happens. You need to push humanity to a wall. I do apologize. What happened was there was a mix-up with fridges, and I'm having to kind of be an overspill today. They're bringing me like bags of lettuce and stuff. Hello, mate.
Yeah, but could you grab one of the trays of wings, please? Oh.
I am really, really sorry about that. I'm not trying to waste your time. I do apologize. Hopefully I'll make it worthwhile. So is it that there is only a number of lights that need to come on? And is it the case that in order to have extreme light, you have to birth it from extreme darkness? And that in order to make us, or those that are the lights, to stand up, and I'm making certain assumptions about myself in this case, and I apologize if that sounds egoic, but after the Sunday that I had at Speaker's Corner, I'm left with little option but to consider that I have a voice, I have a part to play in this, whatever that part is. And I don't need to be one of the 144. That's not what I care about. I just care about doing the honorable, right, truthful, God ordained thing. I don't mean to be praying with my hands. I'm not trying to use symbolism. It just feels right. So then, hey, we're talking about this morning as I'm driving in. When Andrea phones me up, she's like, following the conversation we had this morning before I left, she's had this like big breakthrough, and she's saying, so what if the pole shift is the point at which there's a frequency shift, a frequency change, and when that frequency change occurs, it's almost like in the movie They Live, the John Carpenter movie They Live, where when Roddy Doyle breaks the antenna for the transmissions that keep people sort of blind like this, then maybe that's what happens next year. Maybe there's a pole shift. Maybe, and it doesn't have to be next year, I'm not putting a timetable on it, but if there's a pole shift that comes, that when that happens, all of us will see aliens, or what? No, all of us will see what we consider to be aliens, because when the lights go out, or when the lights come on, when the frequency shifts, and the antenna, as it were, to use the movie reference, breaks, then people will see shit that they've never imagined seeing before. Because we know that 99% or whatever of available light, energy, frequency, activity around us is actually invisible to us right now. But perhaps that steps up a level, and instead of it being 99%, it's 95% or 80% or something like that. A far greater percentage of all of creation becomes available, visible, so on. And when that happens, people are either going to think that we're having the alien invasion that they've always told us that is coming, or people are going to absolutely and lose their shit, lose their marbles, lose their all sense of who and what we are and so on, and damage themselves or damage those around them in some way. But conversely, it may be the case that we have done enough work, internal work, that we're prepared for that shift, and we don't see it as a frightening thing, but rather something to be embraced as part of this journey. And I think there must be a value in doing the soul work. You can't just cruise into this going, okay, I know there's a gate that's going to open, and once that opens, each of us will see something. And having obviously been in the speaker's corner, and if you saw that session I had with people are very caught up in belief systems, and as we all have been, and perhaps still are, but people are very caught up in these belief systems. And sure, the enmity between different groups of Muslims, even that I met on Sunday, is so I'm not like, who knows what the number is, if it's 150, and it doesn't have to be everybody, because it doesn't matter, and what we will is meant to be. But if you're looking for the truth, if you're looking to find something more, or be in the right place, and you'll have your heart in the right space, then this information is useful to you, I think. More and more as I've traveled along this way, and I feel it when I'm in Speaker's Corner now, I'm more inclined to seek ways to love my brother and sister. Yes, I got a little triggered by one guy who was saying, with the dark glasses on, and I was a little annoyed with myself for letting one scroty type, a ragtag bunch of skags, and people have to come through that. I don't have any issue with that. This morning you might have seen my video where I gave some change to a street lady, a worker of the night and stuff. It's, just unfortunate way we are, but this is the darkness. This is part of our darkness, but you must be willing to call it out. You must be willing to say this is what it is, and we owe it to ourselves to be better than that. So don't be a scrote. This be a scrote. It's designed you to be a scrote in so many different ways, and I see that, but I must meet that with firmness and love, and not feel offended by it or whatever, because again, it's the dark and the light, the yin and the yang, and I'm becoming more grateful for all of it, the dark and the light, because without the dark I would not have been finding my way into the light. You want to make a human struggle, you reduce their access to air and watch them fight their way up. And I think that this is like the analogy I've started using of the of filtering water through reverse osmosis, through a series of ever increasingly fine filters, that eventually only the purest of the water, the cleanest of the water will get to the top. And that's and you needed all of the water, you needed the body of water in order to extract that bit of clean water. So it's not to say that the dirty water that's left behind is less than the clean water that come through the top. It's not to say that at all. It's part of the process, and the darkness needs to be embraced, I think. It's not to be I'm not suggesting excusing wars and pedophilia and all sorts of illnesses and so on. No, I think they may well have needed to been the prompt for us to stand up and become the clean water that then imbibes the host with something more pure, something more rewarding. So I think that's my kind of thought stream that I wanted to throw down there, that if there's a pole shift coming, a change in electromagnetic frequency, it may mean that we can see things. We're not going anywhere. No one else is coming here. But things that are here already, energies that are here already, will become manifest, will become evident to us, some, all, I don't know. Maybe it's a matter of, if you've cleaned your house up, then you are in a better position, better health, better shape, better whatever, to receive such a information. But it's maybe just about how we all right, that wasn't so long. So you know, so it's an encouragement, I suppose, to continue to strive towards more loving, more self-love, you know, and see, because flat earth, right, is one of those topics that has everybody fighting with everybody family, or they're never going to love me while all I do is bludgeon them with flat earth. What I need to do is present them with the best of me, you know, and they will love that more. They will love that more. What that means longer down the line, you know, in my life, and you know, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, you know. But we are challenged to meet this darkness with light, or be consumed by the darkness. And then, you know, things will happen as they're meant to happen. Things are as they should be. And if you are called to be one of those lighter souls that is trying to do the love thing, spread the love, then I think you are, well, follow your path, follow your truth. And yeah, all will become, I might just, all will become good. Oh, look what I got here. I got me some chalk. Did you see? These are the big ones. I didn't know if you saw my video. The wall chalking I did the other day was really well received, and it's still on the wall despite heavy rains yesterday. It's like a blackboard wall. It's fantastic for writing on, but someone has gone and tried to rub out just by hand. Not clever enough to use water because it's only chalk. But they've gone and rubbed out with their hand certain words to try and change the meaning of what I'd written. But you can still see what's there, and it'll still be, it's very large letters. I tried to film it earlier, but I pushed the button, and I thought I pushed the button, but I hadn't, so I didn't actually film it. I've got a little battery pack here. I just wanted to jack in because my battery's nearly dead. Guys, I'll have a look at the chat actually, I think, just to see what people think about that. I'm obviously, you know, running the risk. No, not running the risk. I'm just, the truth is that some people don't want to hear some of the stuff, you know, and I don't blame them. It's not about blame. It is what it is. If people, if it doesn't, it doesn't, you know. But that feels good to me, and I want to offload that. So I might have to grab, oh, I've got glasses here. I can read my chat, no problem at all. Let's see what people have to say. Good morning all. And it's Dolly. Nash Conscious Awakeness. Yeah, hey. Hi, hey Rudy. Really cool to see you the other day. In chat, I mean. Hey Josh. How are you guys? How's the baby Ember? I'm looking forward to seeing her again, actually. Hope you guys are good and the trampolining's going well. Yeah. Yes, there is a God. The globe is trying to tell us there isn't. Yeah, I know. I had my whole kind of intelligence was built on the idea that there could be no actual creator. That's why when people say, why does it matter if the earth is the center of everything? Because it changes what God did, you know, and even the dinosaur business changes what God did. To infer that God created dinosaurs before us, it's like, come on. Dolly says false Jews, false Muslims. I mean, you know, we were false ballers, you know, so I'm very cautious about name calling people. I mean this with respect. But I'm cautious about name calling people who are simply caught up in their own belief system. And when you're standing in front of people in Speaker's Corner and you say to them, what you believe is crap, you're not going to get a lot of respect from them, you know, and you're not going to get a lot of traction. Because, I mean, what I realized when I was talking to Shamsi the other day is that, you know, we got a lot in common, but there's things that, you know, there's hot button topics that you can kind of hit, and people stop listening to you. Now, someone told me about 9/11 years before I actually went and looked at it for myself, so I brushed it off. I didn't think anything of it because it didn't connect with me. So, you know, I think it's more important to connect. I felt like there was a group of young Christians in one of my earlier streams on Sunday, and 3 or 4 Americans. Oh, there's an Afro shirt over there. And let's turn the camera on. See if you can see that. Can you see that? It's just wearing the grey shirt. It says NASA on the back. Check that out. Poor bloke. He's carrying his religion. He would hate to know that he was carrying a belief system with him, like a big old, you know, crescent moon or whatever. NASA. Yeah, I know, you know, and I lost the Christians a little bit, I think, because, you know, you hit something that touches a nerve for them and they're like, you know, they shut off. Now, it's not like we don't want to tell people that, obviously I tell everybody that I think, you know, they might be God or Christ or Muhammad. I'd tell people that now because that's how I feel. That's what I feel is the right thing to say. And it also gets people's attention. Oh my Lord. It gets people's attention and maybe gets them listening. But the point I guess I was trying to make is that there's other ways, there's softer ways to get people compassion and love. Watch the film, The Adjustment Bureau. It says it all. Yeah, okay. I think I've seen it. Yeah, I think another one. But I'll go back and see it again, Dolly, because yeah, I mean, I just saw Mark of Melbourne's copy, comment there. Hey Mark, how are you, my friend? Darkness is absence of light. Yes, but do we not come from the darkness? Hey, we sort of, it's an interesting thing. I mean, is this some mystical, magical journey from some darkness to light? Because things come out of the dark, and then as the light gets stronger, so the darkness recedes. I'm not fearing the darkness, you know, and the darkness is important because I think you need both dark and light, right? Good morning, James. Mind of Christ. Yeah. I mean, I was listening to Matt of the Quantum of Conscience sometime this morning. I guess I couldn't fall asleep, and I was 2 or 3 this morning. I was like, okay, if I listen to him for a while, I'll fall asleep. But he was talking about, you know, the kind of simulation theory, or all of it being almost like just a data decode that we're kind of having. Well, I've hated that idea for the longest time, you know, because it feels like heresy to me, you know, just to call this like a simulation. But truthfully, when I was on the DMT, you know, it felt like everything was 2D to me, and you know, the idea that it seemed like just sort of electricity that was all flowing, pulsing, and connected through a vibration and a hum, like this universal hum that settled on everything. That was everything. And I have to say that that possibility, you know, becomes ever more kind of clear. I know Elon Musk has made similar kind of comments, so that immediately turns me off of that sort of stuff. But you know, the idea that we're sort of having our own experience, each of us, of our self, God, the Creator, is quite, you know, I can put that on the table, and I can look at it and turn it around and consider it, and it doesn't burn my fingers right now, I have to say. And you know, if that be true, then perhaps we created this entire ruse for ourselves, this entire game for us to kind of find our way forward, find something. Well, I don't know what the something is, but it feels like light is the right thing. I came up with something last night. I was thinking, I'm not trying to convert you, but I am trying to alert you that there might be something much more important than porn and alcohol. And I'm not dogging on alcohol, or even if someone watches a bit of porn, I don't even, you know what, at the end of the day, actually, there is the element of, let's not become so prudish that we are, you know, indistinguishable from Mormons or even more strict kind of groups, you know, because I think they've probably screwed up their own heads by becoming so insanely like tight-fisted about everything that sounds like fun. I think we're meant to come here and have that fun lovingly as much as we can, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Let me see if I'll come back to that, Ned. Yeah. Bring us back to the light. Well, look, you know what, guys? I mean, I don't know if it's me or 144 people, 144,000 people, or nothing at all. But you know, it does. I do wonder when you wander around and see how many people are still in the sort of fluoride phase of their thing. Whether it's like, you know, it's not everybody that does it. Not everybody that needs to do it. I said that earlier on. If you didn't hear me, you know, that there are the light bearers, the light bringers, the way showers, you know, all of this kind of thing. And really, all along, I've not really wanted to stay in the fight of flat Earth versus ball boys, you know, or Christians versus Muslims or Jews versus everybody else. You know, that fight is the fight that they want us to have, and I'm mindful that in meeting with Muslims and others, I want to be, you know, walking together, but not in that fight, not in that squabble. You know, there is, as I said on Sunday, you know, you choose, we lose. You know, you take a team. Okay, maybe we don't all lose. Maybe that's just absolutely fine. But when you take a team, then you take a side, and when you take a side, you divide, and that division is, you know, not in God's greater vision. I'm trying to rhyme as I go. It really says the light is getting stronger every day. Even young ones are starting to question it. Yeah, and I mean, it may even do why they're chemtrailing, geoengineering. Why they do that is because of you know, the amount of light that's coming in. Maybe it's too soon or something, or they're just trying to hold it back until a certain point. But eventually, the light will be impossible for people to avoid. But actually, you may have missed me when I was talking about this book earlier on. I was that I'm reading. I was given by Shamsi in Speaker's Corner on Sunday. I'm going to take him a copy of my book actually in return. Not that I expect him to read it, but just as a point of honor and respect, and mutual kind of respect. So, but you know, they've got a bunch of Muslims who are waiting for a second coming, and they try and do these terrorist acts in order to try and bring that about. And now, if we know that these terrorists are being funded by ISIS, then that, sorry, by CIA and Mossad and whoever else, then we know that it's the same agenda that's trying to bring on the second coming of Christ, or the first coming of Christ. So everybody seems to be, well, not everybody, but these big groups are caught up in some kind of esoteric struggle to bring something about. And maybe that's what it's meant to do, is bring about these light carriers. It's a really wonderful thing, you know. I mean, all I'm saying is I don't want to be in the fight. I want to be in the loving, you know. That's where I want to be. We do not come from Earth. I don't know, my friend. I think that, what are you saying? We're the only species that need additional things. Oh shit, I've got more meat coming. 1 second.
Sorry to be a pain again.
Is that the same meat?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just not sure if my battery's charging. Yeah, I mean, getting back to Ned's point, my friend, I don't see any distinction between anything here. You see, I don't, and I got this from the DMT and in my research since then. You know, yeah. I think that there is only one creation. You know, within the creation there is a myriad of you know, aliens and things that we don't recognize. Yeah, I think that, and that's what I was saying earlier about it, when there's a transformation, a pole shift or an energy upgrade, or a frequency change, or a ability for some people or all people to see things that are here that we can't see currently. Our decoders are changed, then we will realize that, you know, there's a lot more here, but the aliens are not necessarily beyond here. The other ponds idea and so on, I'm not sure about all of that. But, you know, I mean, it's on the table, of course. But I think there's only one creation, and the multiple eggs and so on. You know, if there are multiple eggs, there are eggs within eggs, like a Russian doll, and it's us, billion or 2 billion people, or however many we are here. And it's those people that are each of us an individual egg, an individual universe, because we decode an entire universe ourselves. It doesn't matter where we go. If we were playing Minecraft, each of us would have our own Minecraft game, and we could go around it, join other people's game for a while as an NPC or a contributor. But you know, that might well be all it is. And then you don't need everybody to get to the top level. You only need 144 or a number of people to get there. So that's my thoughts. there's enough of us. If we meet together, we could change the face of change the face of this FE. We would not need to spill a drop of blood. See, for me, James, I honestly don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen, you know, like everybody, some key's gonna turn, and people go, yeah, okay, we know it's flat, but now what? That's what I get the most. So what? So what? So, and what I don't see in FE, if I can be blunt, is I don't see in FE as a complete, like volte-face, or like a turnaround, a conversion to let's call it higher mindedness. I don't see that. I see it in some, and I'd like to think that I'm starting to see that for myself, in myself, but I don't see it as a collective. And as a collective, we need to be, I think what we've been kind of given is this idea that all we need to do, and that's probably what the sort of Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer thing is. If not that I want to criticize them, because it is the system. The system has, they may simply be doing the role of putting it out there, but keeping people focused only on that rather than the deeper, the soulful, the whatever. And that's fine too, because everything, the wars, the banking, the dreadful kind of illnesses, and all of this sort of craziness is the yin to the yang, the dark to the light. Yeah? And it's not about feeling enmity to them. Much as I think that the system as it is should obviously penalize or wrongdoers and so on. I don't say leave it all to God and it'll all be worked out. No, I think in this world we need to do right, and that's part of moving to the light, is to do right. So I'm just suggesting that we need to, I saw my wife in here a little while ago, we need to not be like angry with people for being aware on that path that they're on. Don't do wrong, don't lie, don't deceive, don't cheat, and so on, and certainly don't do the nastier things, but actually have a good time. And if you spend your time fighting and hating and being angry with the people in the system and so on, you will get to the end of your time. As I heard someone say the other day, a lady I'd never heard speak before, by the name of Gloria. She was on the Black Sheep Researchers podcast hangout, and she said, oh, fuck. I've lost my train of thought. But I say, have a good, you're really meant to be enjoying this ride. Oh yeah, like at the end, if you were to meet an angel when you've finished your time here, and angels ask you, so tell us about your life, tell us about your experience before you go back, or tell us about the experience, this experience that adds to the Akashic records, or whatever. Then, are you going to go, shit, I like this old lady up the road, she's such a sad kind of way to go out, and for whatever reasons, it's not going to be a great conversation with the angels. Metropolitan Peace, I like that name. We need to clean up our temples. We are the church. We are both demons and angels. Yeah, and also, are we balanced? Can we be the middle? Because there's, in the yin yang symbol, you got a little line between the two, and that's the balance. That's the little bit in the middle that I think we're meant to strive towards, actually. Because being super good, like some 7 days a week at church on bended knee kind of good, is not really what this is all about. You didn't create this beautiful world with all this beauty of nature, of women, of men, depending on your flavor, food, and experiences to have, and water. I mean, I watch Alexander splashing in the puddles. As a 2-year-old boy, the joy he gets from splashing in puddles should be the joy we still get, because if you are the creator and you exist in simply in a vibratory state, an electromagnetic state, then there is no splashing in the water. There is no enjoying the taste of a mango, a fresh cool mango or something like that. That you can't do when you're the creator. You've created this environment for you to come and have these pleasurable experiences, enjoyable experiences, these fun experiences. Not broken like that street worker. Not that I'm criticizing her. I really have empathy for that, but that's her story, and that's perhaps the one she came to have, or perhaps the one that helps her find something else next time round, or perhaps just that the creation needed to have that experience. I don't know. No criticism, just observation and a realization that it's all part of the same thing. It's all okay. It's all something we want to be actually cherishing, loving, and embracing, rather than, and I speak for myself here, rather than being feeling under some kind of assault in any way, in many ways, as the system will try and bring to you. So that would be my thoughts on that. That's a useful comment, though. I like your name, Metropolitan Peace. I met a nice policeman on Sunday, actually. His name's Vinny. And Vinny came to me and said, hey, so tell me about the moon landings, because I'm not sure we went to the moon. And unfortunately, this is the last hour, so I didn't get any of it on tape. But so we had a good conversation. Then one of my oldest trolls came in there. One of my oldest trolls came and gave me a little bit of love and tried to dominate the conversation, but actually ended up being a 30 minutes, a useful 30 minutes all in all. Anyway, yeah, all about balance. Hey, Astro-King, how you doing? Hey, everybody, that's why things are changing. Yeah, I just need to answer a thing. Glow 13, yeah, that's exactly what her name is. Glow 13, Gloria. Go and check her out. She's got some interesting stuff. I've only listened to one or two of her things. I went and subbed her that day. But the way she spoke on the Black Sheep Researcher was like, gee, this lady is on a similar page to me. Yeah, that feels good. Planar Earth lovers everywhere. Oh, okay, the red wax on the same as the secret. Yeah. They fear us waking up. I don't know. I don't know if they fear us waking up. I think they want us to feel that they fear. I wonder if the system doesn't actually want to push you. This is what you may have missed me say this earlier on. To push you like a water through a sieve. 1 second, guys. Just got to answer a quick message. Guys, yeah, I need to get this thing started. Sorry about the noise. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, my friend James. Actually, let me just say this, because I don't mean to be blunt, or I mean, because what you're offering is absolutely what I oftentimes think or have thought. You see, it can't be handed to us on a silver plate. It can't be given to us on a silver plate. So they have to frighten you. They have to push you. They have to, like I was saying about the water through a sieve. Eventually, if you put it through a fine and finer sieve, you eventually get this pure water come out the other side. Okay, we could have a debate about that, but very clean water comes out the other side, and I think that's what the system is designed for. The people that are running it have got no real say in it. We're all just the human, at the sort of lower end of the kind of ability scale. When you consider what the creation is in totality and what God must be, or the Creator, nature, Allah must be in total. So. allow a place for that in your heart, my brother. You know that, James. That I think that's important, and you know, because if you stay angry with them, if you stay in that, anger is fear, and that anger and fear is. Hey, bro.
Morning.
Morning.
How's it?
Oh, you
You
changed.
right? Shib's out, yeah.
Oh, hey.
You right?
I'm gonna have to go.